your most essential guide about sober living. Hi there. Thank you for keeping on track with our published article. You came across our article because you might need something or someone to ask for your help to know more about sober living. Well, we've got you covered with the essential information that you need to know about sober living homes. Here are some of the essential guides that we can research from various sources, which you need to know about and take note of. What is sober living? Sober living homes, or SLH, are alcohol and drug-free living environment for those who aim to attain consistent abstinence from alcohol and drug addiction. Although halfway houses and other residential facilities might have some in common for substance abusers, there is also essential distinctiveness. These sober living homes are sustainably funded by their resident fees, and they can typically also choose to stay as much as they want to. How does it work then? It comprises of different phases to meet your continuous independence, namely: Restrictive Phase. The mental detox for residents who started to attend the program may last in a month, in which residents focus to practice the basics of living in a sober environment, and some of which are: no phone or computer access, leave school or work temporarily, start doing household chores and any other errands, attend health appointments, in particular of dental and vision, establish healthy activities like fitness and volunteering, choose and participate in peer group support sessions, restricted provision of transportation. Reintroduction Phase. After successfully attaining the restrictive phase, some important privileges were slowly re-established. You can start to go back to work and school, continue therapy, support group, and errands. You can use personal transportation, however, for essential activities only. Location may be monitored with household via phone app. Self-sufficiency phase. Residents can make decisions independently with corresponding accountabilities before their changes into independent living. Fully independent transportation. Preparation to transfer into your own home/apartment. Continuously abide by the rules and regulations settled. If relapses occur, residents are required to step back into restrictions. Who gains from a sober living house? Sober living homes are conceptualized in mission to serve the people who are high risk for relapse. If you doubt sustaining the recovery program, then this sober living home is appropriate for you to detach you from any distractions of alcohol and drug substance. History of relapse. If you have experienced a relapse, a sober living arrangement is suitable for you. Accessibility to drugs and alcohol. Temptations are indeed tempting. Thus, you need to find a sober living home to keep you away from alcohol and drug substance use temptations. Lack of a support network. Support networks are the essential instrument in all aspects of the scenario we are struggling with. If this factor hinders your recovery, the sober living homes provide a sufficient support network to lift you from whatever you are fighting for. Unstable environment. A stable environment is the vital aspect of sober living houses free from drugs, alcohol, and toxic relationships. Rules and regulations of sober living homes. Rules and regulations must be strictly followed throughout your recovery journey. Their common rules include the following: no drugs, alcohol, violence, or overnight guests. Sexual contact is strictly prohibited between residents. Overnight guests are not allowed. Persistent drug and alcohol screenings. Enthusiastically cooperate with the support group meetings. Responsible for household duties. Be mindful of your essential belongings. Take heed of the curfew hours. Responsible for appropriate expenses during your stay. Respectful at all times to your co-residents as well as to the staff. Any sexual misbehavior is ground for immediate displacement from any sober living homes. These are some essential common rules and regulations you need to take heed of. Types of sober living homes. Each of them operates differently to suffice the various needs of the residents as well. Regardless of the different types of sober living homes, they are established to support the residents' need to attain stability while transitioning back into the community. Most sober living houses are privately run, Some are owned and managed by religious groups or businesses. Furthermore, the treatment facility varies according to the individual's needs and experiences, level of supervision and structure, and other amenities. Sober living houses are composed of 4 main types of level of support. Level 1, peer-operated. This level has the slightest rule requirement for staying. Level 2, monitored. Overseen by the paid staff and requires support group or therapy. Level 3, supervised. Residents are closely supervised by professional staff and require at the same a support group or therapy. Level 4, service provider. Provides in-house services with qualified, managed staff, requires support group or therapy and may integrate with clinical facilities. The better results gained by any sober living home are credited to its responsible staff and the cooperation of every individual to get out from each day's struggle to abstain from alcohol and drug use. In addition, some sober living also offers specializations such as co-ed. This housing supports multiple genders in the same facility. Sober colleges. It serves individuals within the adult demographics, which operates as well as sober dorms. Integrated IOP centers. Established with on-site medical care and additional treatment. Contracted rehab centers and therapists. An affordable cost level for inpatient services. The appropriate program will surely overpower addiction and redirect individuals to a more fulfilling and successful life. How to choose sober living. All sober living programs have their different strengths and weaknesses, thus, we will assist how to find the right sober living program. Here are some tips for scrutinizing a good sober living home. Do research. The essential step upon undertaking a program is to do your research from a website or, if possible, ask someone who has experienced the program. Ask questions. Ask questions beyond what you see on the website. Verify. Always verify what you've researched or gathered on how the terms and conditions will work on you. Tour the facility. This is highly recommended to visit the site and meet the residents in order to gain additional information, and this will help you to assess whether the offered programs are suitable for you at the same you are comfortable of it. If you fail to tour their facility, you can ask to speak to clients currently living there. Ask your treatment provider. If you have an available treatment provider, this will serve you as the best resource to familiarize the patient and area programs. They are well aware of the local programs and provide good advice on whether a sober living homes program may be suitable for your needs. Is sober living a good idea? Does sober living works? According to the published article in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs, it is effective with some apparent improvements listed number of measures, including alcohol and drug use, arrests, psychiatric symptoms, and employment. In addition, the researcher concluded that the sober living houses are an excellent example that could assist individuals in completing residential treatment, engaging in outpatient programs, leaving incarceration, or seeking an alternative to formal treatment. The consistent cooperation to the sober living philosophy also shows a better result in terms of peer support recovery, higher involvement in 12-step groups such as Alcoholics Anonymous. Unfortunately, despite this evidence, sober living homes are still underutilized. Other studies of 2 different sober houses have shown a positive outcome even more for people who relapsed. The abstinence rates enhanced from 11% at baseline to 68% at 6 and 12 months, which vividly shows a slightly lower abstinence rate than when they started to enter the sober houses. These statistics reports are helpful for people who are still in doubt to enter the sober houses. Sober living is not that awful as you think, and this may not be a way to perfectly aid you. However, they are an instrument to separate you from bad vices through their strategic plan. Pros and cons of sober living. There is no perfect organization established. No matter how you gain on top, the people always have something to throw against it. In this section, we are going to share the advantages and disadvantages of sober living. It would be impossible to recover from drug and alcohol addiction without seeking professional help. No matter how potential the offered sober living program, still, it would depend on residents' attitudes and needs. Some advantages of sober living may include capability to carry the 12-step lessons after the treatment setting, support group who share common goals in recovery and sobriety, determination to obey the strict rules and regulations, ability to attain independence and freedom. Some potential disadvantages of sober living may include shortage of communal environment to provide a conducive place for recovery. Some sober houses have limited accommodations compared to a normal home. Anxiety and stress, thought of rules and regulations if broken. Being forced to cooperate in a 12-step program may not be ideal for the individual. Some sober houses imposed unreasonable amount of program fees. Sober living can assist your recovery needs to mitigate the risks of relapse upon cooperating to their residential treatment setting throughout your recovery journey.